Welcome to our prospective student open house. My name is Kate Bertain. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Enrollment Management here at TC. In my current capacity, I oversee the Office of Admission, and I want to welcome you to our event tonight. We have hundreds of prospective students joining us worldwide, so I'm grateful for your time in being here, and I'm thrilled, even more thrilled, that you're considering a postgraduate experience here at TC. Okay, so we have a great program for you that will span the next 2 hours, so get comfortable. We aim to showcase some of the unique opportunities that TC has to offer. There's so much to share, but unfortunately, such a short window of time. So tonight, you will get the opportunity to hear from a mixed panel of distinguished faculty, a current student, an alumnus. You'll learn more about the requirements and nuances of applying. We have some information for you and an overview on financial aid. And then we will wrap up the session or wrap up the event with an academic breakout where you can learn a little bit more about your specific department or program of interest. So we hope that by the conclusion of tonight or the evening's program is that you'll not only be more knowledgeable about Teachers College and the next steps, but more confident and excited that TC is in fact the right fit for your graduate degree journey. So Teachers College, who are we? So we embody education in the broadest sense, both in and outside of the classroom. So while some of you are looking at programs with the goal of becoming visionary and cutting edge educators, others may be considering programs that do not necessarily lead to careers maybe in a traditional classroom setting. So perhaps nutrition or neuroscience, clinical psychology. I assure you that despite our name, you are in the right place. We are home to a broad array of programs, over 120 in fact, all residing within one of these 10 academic departments that you see listed here on the slide, which makes Teachers College the largest and most comprehensive graduate school of education in the country. So our name, Teachers College, is interesting history and background. It derives from the original mission of the college, which was in fact to prepare a new kind of schooling for the teachers of disadvantaged and immigrant children in New York back in the late 1880s. So to fully meet the needs of underserved students, TC realized that human development and the success cannot solely rely on education alone, but rather on the combination of a few factors, that being health, which is the physical well-being, the psychology, which is the emotional well-being, in combination with education, in fact, has the most profound impact on learning and performance, not only in school, but also in one's career in life. Hence, therefore, all 120 plus of our programs here at TC derive from these three core pillars that embody everything that Teachers College has to offer: education, health, and psychology. So the history of TC is in fact the history of American education. We are the blueprint for all schools of education that have followed. So as the nation's oldest and first graduate school of education, we are considered pioneers in many fields and have been at the forefront of many firsts, both big and small. For instance, the invention of the yellow school bus many of you may have used in elementary school stems from Teachers College. TC has launched the nation's first programs in education psychology, international education, and nutrition education. But we don't just rely on our history. Our legacy of innovation is very much alive today, and we continue to revolutionize how both instruction and learning are occurring. So whether it be launching new cutting-edge programs in education technology, counseling psychology, design and development of digital games, whether it's being the Ivy League's first master's degree program in the emerging field of spirituality and psychology, or our faculty being considered world leaders in conflict resolution and social justice. So our past and current experiences allow us to continue meeting today's needs while also anticipating the needs of tomorrow. So you may be asking, what will Teachers College offer me specifically? At TC, you'll be joining a community of not just thinkers, but doers, as we draw together visionaries who don't just think about things, but who actually do something to create a smarter, healthier, and more equitable world. So our location means that you will be partnering with the New York City Public Schools potentially, which proudly is our country's largest and most diverse school system. TC is home to over 50 research centers and institutes for you to put theory actually into practice, where you will be led by some of the world's most influential faculty to not only teach you, but show you how to meet the needs of the ever-evolving world. But don't just take it from me. We have an esteemed panel here tonight containing a current student, an alumnus, and several faculty perspectives where they can share their personal experiences of Teachers College. So I'm going to take this opportunity to turn the program over to my colleague, David Estrella, who is our Assistant Director of Admission, and he will be moderating the panel tonight. David.
Thank you so much, Kate. Hello, everyone. As Kate mentioned, my name is David Estrella, and I'm an Assistant Director of Admission here at TC, as well as a proud graduate of our Psychology and Education program. And I have the honor of moderating today's Open House TC Perspectives panel. We are so fortunate to have an inspiring and diverse group of esteemed Teachers College faculty and current and former students with us today. Dr. Patricia Martinez-Alvarez, Dr. Sarah Brasidas, Dr. Owen Pismones-Levy, Jackie Burpee, and Dr. Ty McNamee. I'll invite our panelists to join me at this time by turning on their cameras. Our panelists are here to share with you a little bit about what life is like at TC and to represent a wide range of programs we offer here at the college, namely the overarching interdisciplinary pillars of education, health, and psychology. For today's panel, we have prepared a selection of questions for our panelists based on some of the topics we find that our applicants are most curious about. We believe that you will find these items of discussion most relevant as you consider applying to become part of the thriving Teachers College community. We will not be taking live questions, but rest assured you will have the opportunity to ask your questions, particularly those related to materials, deadlines, resources, and other similar topics in your department breakout sessions hosted by our dedicated admission liaisons following our opening session. Now, before we hop into questions, I'd like to provide a brief bio of each of our panelists joining me here today. Dr. Patricia Martinez-Alvarez is an associate professor in the program of bilingual bicultural education in the Department of Arts and Humanities here at TC. Employing cultural, historical, and critical disability theories, Dr. Martinez-Alvarez's research exposes the educational inequities that bilingual children with a disability experience in schools, and prepares teachers for enacting inclusive education and bilingual programs. Dr. Martinez-Alvarez is an early career AERA awardee from the Bilingual Education Research Special Interest Group and a current co-chair of the AERA Cultural Historical Research Special Interest Group. She serves as an associate editor for the Teachers College Record and is an editorial board member for the Bilingual Research Journal. She has authored the book Teacher Education for Inclusive Bilingual Context and has a soon-to-be-released book entitled Teaching Emergent Bilingual Students with Disabilities. Welcome, Dr. Martinez-Alvarez. Thank you for being here. Dr. Sarah Brasidas is an associate professor of practice and the MA program director for the Social Organizational Psychology program here at TC. She teaches courses on group dynamics, high-performing teams, and equity, diversity, and inclusion to master's and doctoral students, as well as in TC's executive education programs. She also serves as the faculty director of the Principles of Practice of Organization Development programs. Dr. Brasidas received her Bachelor's of Arts degree in psychology from the University of Pennsylvania and her master's and doctorate degree in counseling psychology from TC. She is a member of the American Psychological Association, is a licensed psychologist in New York State, and maintains private practice of organizational consulting with a specialty in working with diverse teams. She has 15 plus years of experience in providing coaching, consulting, and teaching to executives, leaders, and high potential, including to those in C-suite. Her consulting experience spans numerous industries, including financial services, teaching, technology, media, retail, and healthcare. Welcome, Dr. Brasidas. So glad to have you here. Dr. Owen Pismoni-Levy is an associate professor of international and comparative education at Teachers College. His scholarship centers on the intersection of education and social movement. Through a diverse set of research methods, quantitative, qualitative, and social network analysis, he examines the roots and impacts of global education movements, including international large-scale assessments, environmental and sustainability education, and LGBTQ+ education. Dr. Pismoni-Levy is also the founding director of the Center for Sustainable Futures here at Teachers College, Columbia University. Welcome, Dr. Pismoni-Levy. Thank you so much for being here. Jackie Burpee is a first-year graduate student in the Communication Sciences and Disorders Bilingual Extension Program, en route to becoming a speech-language pathologist. She is originally from New Jersey and completed her undergraduate degree from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2016. Upon graduation, she moved to Medellin, Colombia, where she lived for 5 years. Jackie is currently involved in Dr. Catherine Crowley's research lab, focused on equity assessment materials which accurately distinguish language dialect from disorders in children. She hopes to contribute to the bilingual SLP research herself one day as a future Spanish-English bilingual clinician. Outside of TC, Jackie is a private tutor for New York City middle and high schoolers. She lives in Brooklyn with her dog. Welcome, Jackie. Thanks so much for being here. Dr. Ty McNamee is currently an assistant professor of higher education at the University of Mississippi. He completed his doctorate in higher and post-secondary education at Teachers College, his Master's of Arts in higher and post-secondary education and student affairs from the University of Connecticut, and his Bachelor of Arts in English from the University of Wyoming. Growing up on a farm/ranch in Wyoming greatly influenced Ty's research interests. He conducts research on higher education access and equity for rural students, particularly from poor and working class backgrounds, as well as college teaching and learning and faculty development at rural post-secondary institutions. Outside of his research, Ty co-founded and previously ran the Rural Education and Healthcare Coalition, a Teachers College student, faculty, and staff network focused on rural education and healthcare programming and research. Welcome, Ty. Thank you so much for being here. So as you can see, we have a very accomplished and dedicated group of faculty, student, and alumni changemaker joining me today. So let's kick us off with our discussion here. I'll start off by posing the first question to Dr. Brasidas. Dr. Brasidas, in your years here at Teachers College, what has been the most rewarding part of being a TC faculty member?
Oh, sure. Thank you for that question. It's one of my favorite questions to answer. I love working with the students. It's so exciting to work with folks who are so committed to learning, to contributing to the greater good, who take initiative, who are smart, who challenge me. I feel like my work with the students really helps me bring my best self to my research, my teaching, my practice work, that we really co-create the learning and we co-create the community, the learning community here. And that's really exciting to me. The students are just absolutely inspiring. I think just the other thing that I love about working at TC, I love the variety in my job. So I love that I can do research, I teach, I consult, I do advising and mentoring. There's just so much variety, and that's also really inspiring.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Pismoni-Levy, I wonder if you could also share some insight of your time being here as a TC faculty member.
Thank you. Like Sarah, I came for the research, and I'm excited and energized every day because of the students. I literally just finished my class, my 5 p.m. class, network analysis, week 14. I'm exhausted. The student presented their work today, 4 different group projects. I was floored. It was inspiring to see how they took everything we learned this semester and applied it to issues like climate change or inequality in Colombia or issues of emotions. It's always interesting to see what the students do with what we share with them, how we learn with them. And I took a lot of ideas throughout the semester from how to improve my work, how to think in different ways. And this is not the phenomena only this semester. This has been my best professional learning over the past 10 years, working with the students. But again, as Sarah said, it's not only about the diversity here, it's the wonderful colleagues that we have. So serving with my colleagues on committees, caring about the public good, improving not only the institution, but the city around us and the world really makes the work here not a job. It's almost like a mission. And I really enjoy and appreciate that opportunity.
Thank you so much. And I guess Patricia Martinez-Alvarez, if you wanted to also share a little insight of your time here at TC.
Yes, I think, well, I agree with everything that has been said. I would also like to add that something that is very rewarding is to see the opportunities that surface from our graduates who are critical stakeholders in the New York public schools. So I work in the schools a lot, and our graduates are not only parents, but also principals and teachers in the public schools here in New York, and that provides access to these very important communities, the classrooms, so that we can prepare, design professional development experiences and conduct research in these very important spaces. And also think that the opportunities we have to engage in intellectual endeavors. So there are many opportunities for internal grants at TC that help us with conducting research, having time to think about that, and also doing the work that we need to do in our communities. And also because we are in this institution and the name that it carries, we also receive a lot of support for writing and for securing external grants. So I think that that's been very rewarding for me.
Thank you. I love hearing this perspective from current faculty here at TC. And Jackie, I'm going to come to you next. We've heard from faculty, from their experience, why they like being at TC. And I'm wondering if you could share a little bit from your experience as a current TC student, what the TC community is like, and maybe what are ways you're involved here at Teachers College?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, one word that's already come up a lot is community, and TC definitely feels like it's very community centered. So it's not just about the internal TC community, but it feels like a lot of the work we do is centered on improving the community of New York City, which is really rewarding in a lot of ways. In terms of the TC student community, it's very tight-knit. We have sort of the privilege of being like this tight-knit community that's also part of a much bigger and well-known university, which kind of allows you to experience or have the best of both worlds. There's also a lot of opportunity for engagement as a student, which almost like I think the only limitation to all of that engagement is like hours in a day. And obviously as a graduate student, you're really busy with work. But there are like community initiatives like, free or discounted tickets to Broadway shows, school-wide holiday celebrations. I took part in a mochi making activity recently. And then aside from those social events, I'm also, I work in a lab, so a research lab in Dr. Kate Crowley's lab, which I think you mentioned. I'm part of a book club. I recently started a Spanish-speaking group within my program. So yeah, those are just a few of the things that I'm involved in, but really, like I said, there's opportunity for so much more. It's just a matter of not having always the time for everything.
Yeah, and I love hearing this thing about community here at Teachers College, and certainly lots of ways to be engaged here at TC. Ty, I'm going to come over to you next in the sense of like you've gone through the TC experience. You've obviously started your trajectory in your career field, and looking back, how do you feel Teachers College has helped prepared you for your current career track?
As I think I was sort of considering this question, and I was going, through two areas in my mind. One, I always stuck by the idea that Teachers College, yes, you're getting a lot of theory, but you're also balancing that with how you're going to put that into practice. And so as an assistant professor, a lot of my research is focusing on, how we take theory and how we take data-based evidence and apply that into practice, particularly supporting rural and poor and working class populations in higher education. And so as I've gotten into my faculty role, every time I'm writing a grant application or I'm working on a manuscript, I have those ideas in my mind of, we're taking this research, we're taking this theory, and then we're breaking that down for how, practitioners and policymakers can use that in data and evidence-based ways. The other piece is this idea of, as I'm in the field as a faculty member, but also on committees and, in my broader academic space and social spaces, is this idea that Teachers College is really caring a lot about diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. And so as I conduct my research, as I teach my courses, as I go about my sort of like administrative duties and committee duties, I'm constantly thinking about, how do we make sure that places feel or are diverse, but that they also feel inclusive, and that they're fostering equity and social justice. And so this is like such a small thing, but it really made a difference for me this week. I'm down south now, and obviously folks celebrate Christmas a lot more than other holidays. And so in our dean's office, there was a Christmas tree, but I was thinking, that could be really exclusive for folks like me who celebrate Hanukkah. And so I talked to my dean about the idea that we could also have a menorah and some other holiday things in addition to a Christmas tree. And I don't think without my TC sort of background of thinking about how do we make sure that places feel inclusive, I would have done that. And it was really cool because we got to have a conversation about, putting that menorah up, and they're going to buy that and put it up in the dean's office. And so it's those little things where it's sort of like, how do we make sure that these spaces feel good for everybody to be a part of? And I feel like TC really informed me on how to do that.
That's great. Thanks, Ty, for sharing that. And I think I want to circle back to one of the topics you had kind of talked about your research experience while you were here as a doctoral student here at Teachers College. And I think I'll bounce this question over to Dr. Martinez Alvarez in terms of, we have many prospective students who are thinking about Teachers College, and they're eager to engage during their time here at TC in terms of research. And I guess, how would you recommend students to become involved during their time here in research here at Teachers College?
Yes, thank you. This is such an important question. And I would like to first highlight that professors want to do research with the students, right? It's part of our work to mentor new scholars. And so we want to engage with the students in the research process, and it's required from us to publish with our students, right? We understand that that is really very important for the students as they graduate and apply for assistant professorships or enter the public school systems, and they continue their careers through inquiry in the classrooms and in their teaching. So we are the most interested ones in collaborating with the students, in learning theory with them, understanding how to design a good study. So I would recommend prospective students not to wait, reach out, make yourselves available as either graduate research assistants, as interims, as work studies. There are multiple opportunities to work with professors while you are a student at Teachers College, and find out whose research is most interesting to you. And we all have office hours. We meet regularly with the students. And so reach out to the professors and start the conversation. And also realize that when we begin a collaboration, that is going to be for the long run, right? Because engaging in research takes time. And, we have to first gain access to the field. We have to obtain consent and assent from minors. And we need to be very organized with data, and then we engage in the very exciting but very time-consuming process of analyzing data, right? And then I typically, with the students, we explore the data, and as we develop preliminary findings, we start going to conferences. And at that point, we might start writing papers and maybe considering sending them for publications. But we're learning throughout all these steps together. And I find myself learning a lot in every time that I collaborate with our students. So yes, we are here we have the same interest in doing research together. So reach out to the professors.
That's wonderful. I know research is, just one component of the whole TC experience. The academic rigor really is the other component. And Dr. Brasitis, I'm wondering if you might be able to share a little bit about an assignment that you have students complete that you think is representative of the typical academic expectations of a graduate student here at Teachers College.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to. So I teach a class called Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion in Teams and Organizations. And all semester, we look at frameworks and models around diversity, equity, inclusion in teams and organizations. So part of the values of Teachers College and the values of the social organizational psychology program are using evidence-based practice and really grounding what we teach, students to bring to organizations, that it comes that it's undergirded by research saying this is an effective intervention. So I teach models and frameworks all semester that can be used in organizations who are trying to build up equity, diversity, inclusion programs or solve for a particular problem around diversity and inclusion. And at the very end of the semester, the students do a capstone project where they create a video of themselves talking to a client. And they can select a client that could be their actual work, their job that they're in right at that time, or it could be a client from that's in the public domain. They could choose, something that's written about in current events about an organization that is working on EDI issues. So they create a video where they are actually kind of mapping what's going on in that organization around EDI on a particular framework or model. And then they devise an intervention that's evidence-based, linking to the model that they would then present to the client. And the trick of it is that they have to be able to really modulate in the video that they're making, kind of keeping the academic jargon at bay, like that's for their own understanding and their knowledge, but they need to present it in a way that a client would understand and would be receptive to. So they have to kind of translate all of their academic knowledge into something that's really relevant for an organization that is trying to do better in the equity, diversity, inclusion space. So it's really rich. I mean, some of the videos that they make, I want to bring them to the organization and say, like, here you go. Like, here's some really rich intervention here. And just one example of a capstone project that would be typical in the class that I teach.
That's wonderful. Such an engaging course, and it tackles many different areas of not only in-course, but using technology as well. I love to hear that. And I think keeping along that line, I'd love to hear from our current student and alum. I'll start with you, Jackie, in terms of, you're currently taking classes here at TC. And, if you could maybe share with our prospective student population, like what's your average class size, and share a little bit about your classroom experience that you're having in your program.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Communication Sciences and Disorders program is a group of 60 students split into 2 cohorts. So many of my classes are with just my cohort, so 30 students, and then other classes are with all 60 of us. So, the classroom experience has been really great so far. I think initially I was concerned that a classroom of 60 might be pushing the limits, might be a little bit big, or might feel a little big. But really that hasn't been the case. I feel like all of my professors know me, and I feel very comfortable interacting with them. I interact with them all the time. I'm always in office hours. Always participating in class. And I feel like, our professors really make an effort to know each and every student and are so invested in our success. Like, I don't think I felt that as much, not nearly as much as an undergraduate student. So it feels really good to know that every one of your professors is really like rooting for you and really wants you to succeed and to learn. Because ultimately they're training us to be clinicians in their field. So they want us to help enrich their field. They don't want to produce bad clinicians who are going to go out into the field and do subpar work. So it just feels very collaborative, and like we're all here to support each other. We're all here to support communication sciences and disorders. We're all here to be good clinicians and as a speech language pathologists. So yeah, my experience has been great in the classroom, and I'm also just being taught by the absolute leaders in our field, which is always, what every student wants. And also I loved the evidence-based practice plug, because that's just been the backdrop of everything that we've learned so far. And I think when you're going into, in my case, patient care, it's incredibly important to be informed in research and evidence-based interventions, treatments, etc.
Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate that. And Ty, looking back on your time as a student here at TC, again, if you could share a little insight from your particular lens, your class size and your classroom experience.
Well, one of the people on this call was a professor of mine. Oren, your class was great, of course. I would say, actually, Oren's class was my biggest, and I don't know, Oren, how many students are in there. I felt like it was bigger than my usual class because it's a big quantitative analysis course, but it's not going to be like, 100 plus people. I would say, and I could be totally wrong, but like 40 to 50, maybe. Yeah. So that was my biggest course by far. Everything else was usually about 15 to 30, more like in the 20 to 25 would be like pretty average. I had really positive experiences in my courses. I think Jackie said a lot of what I would say, but the idea that so many of them were discussion based, and it was you go and do your reading and you dive into what these authors are saying about theory and research, and you come into the classroom and you get to talk that out with everybody. And there were times that when you're reading John Dewey, it can be very dense, and it was great to have the classroom space to be able to talk that out, because now I get to cite Dewey all the time, and I understand more about what that sort of like theoretical knowledge was talking about. So that was really cool for me. The other piece that I do want to mention, and I'm not going to say this is everybody's experience, but from my perspective, I went through some pretty intense life experiences while I was a doctoral student. My mom got sick with cancer. I had some, other personal stuff going on. She's okay now, so she's in remission, but it was a really tough few years. And I'm not joking that the faculty checked in with me on a weekly basis. And when I was in classes and, they would check in if I had something where I needed to get an extension or I needed sort of like a grace period. Most of the time, folks were really understanding and really caring. And so that was a really cool space for me to be a part of, where, yes, you're in there to learn about academic, theory and research and all those sorts of things, but you're human beings and you get to learn together and be in community together. And I really enjoyed that.
Thank you, Ty. And I think jumping back a little bit to what Jackie said, faculty setting up students for success, and what you're tying into in terms of like the theory that you're getting into, that you're learning in the coursework. My next question I'll pose to Dr. Pismoni-Levy, a little bit about that balance between theory and practice, which is a big component of the TC experience. We often refer to our students as change makers, and how has some of the work you've done with students demonstrated our commitment to putting their work into meaningful practice?
Great question. So, but before I say anything, Sarah, I would love to sit in your class because it sounds like an amazing opportunity. So I'm going to reach out after. I think I'll give 2 examples on this change makers phenomena at TC. We mentioned quickly earlier Ty's organization. Ty came with a mission to study how higher education institutions or the system can better serve people from marginalized backgrounds, specifically people from poor working class or rural families. And he took this knowledge, he took the gap that he identified in the literature, and rather than only exploring it academically, he went on and established a forum, an organization that brought together students and faculty. And I remember we had a guest speaker and a movie, and all of that really enriched the curriculum. So the change maker that Ty is really help the college with providing more educational opportunities for the students and for the community to engage with the topic. So this is one example. Another recent example is my students in a class titled Climate Change, Society and Education. So we've been talking for a full semester last year about climate change, the most serious challenge humanity is facing. And the students, they take it week after week. And I asked them at some point, okay, so what are we going to do about this? This is not something just to read about. And the students decided that they're going to organize a group. So they created a student organization named the Sustainability Task Force. And then they decided that they want to actually improve the way TC as an organization is engaging with the topic of climate. So they collected 700 petitions. They stood for a couple of days in main hall and signed up students, calling the administration to do things. They submitted the petitions to the president and the provost. The president and the provost invited them for a talk. They met with them. I was there in the Zoom room when it happens. I saw them taking everything they learned in class, all the frameworks, all the justification, what other peer institutions are doing, and showing it to the provost and the president, who was so impressed that they invited them to speak to the faculty meeting. And we're talking about students in their first semester at the college. Slowly, just 2 weeks ago, before the holiday, President Bailey released a statement to the community addressing all of the calls that the student asked for last year. This is change making in action, where the students take what they learn in the class, they organize, and then they take action that is meaningful. I'm sorry, it's not only about organizing a pizza party, it's really doing something that will change the institution, not only now, forever. So that's an example of change making that is happening right now at the college.
That's wonderful. And thank you for that concrete example. Thinking of that, we've definitely talked a little bit about the classroom experience, the support that students are getting from their faculty. Thank you, Ty, for sharing that. And I'm wondering if we just elaborate a little bit more. Maybe I'll jump to, Dr. Martinez Alvarez. If you could share a little bit from your experience on how you feel TC creates a sense of belonging and support for TC students.
Thank you for that question. I would say that the sense of belonging comes from the institution, the organization of the institution, and also from the student associations, the student groups that Jackie was describing. In terms of the institution, we are organized in small units that we call programs, right? And the program is really your home base. So, you have to make sure once you arrive to TC that you benefit from the very many events that we organize at the program level, they are for learning sometimes. For instance, tomorrow we have a roundtable discussion. We've invited 2 scholars, one from the University of Helsinki who's visiting here in New York, and another one from the Graduate Center here in New York. And they are coming to share about the theoretical frameworks. And then our students, our teacher inquirers, are going to present their own research. 6 students from different classrooms who volunteer to participate in this experience. And they are in TC, they are going to present their research projects that they conducted this semester in the classrooms. And then the scholars and the audience will engage in a conversation around their findings and maybe challenge some of the ideas that they bring in, right? So this is a learning experience, but it's also helping us create community. And we open it up for the entire department and the TC community. So we also have the department, Arts and Humanities. We are 9 programs. And one of them is the program Bilingual Bicultural Education. So we benefit from each other's programming, from the learning of the students across programs. And the department is also a vehicle for networking and for belonging as well. So I think that the sense of belonging comes from benefiting from these different routes of learning, of being in a community, of socializing, and also engaging in fun ways with people at TC in these different units that we have. I think it's a space for exploring one's multiple layers of identity. I myself, I'm a faculty member here, and only when I came to TC, I realized that I was a first generation scholar, and that came from an opportunity in TC where we have a graduate event around graduation for first generation scholars, where the students write letters to their families. And so I came and I read letters from the students to their families in Spanish, and it was just I was crying at that event. It was just very important for me to realize that I could also embrace that identity, and that this was one more group of people that could support me through my career and my work in the world and in TC. And that's just one example, but there are many other identities that can be explored within your time at Teachers College.
That's wonderful. And if I remember correctly, I believe that initiative to really celebrate our first generation TC students was an initiative by our Changemaker current TC students as well, and another example of how they've impacted TC, and so we can be more inclusive of our student population. We're going to wrap up here. I'm going to ask each of you if you could just quickly, one or two things that come to mind that you feel that makes TC a unique place to study. And I guess I'll start with our alum, Ty, first.
I was like, oh, I need to think on that question, but now I'm first. So one of the biggest unique things is that sort of hearkening back to the introduction, we're the largest and most comprehensive graduate school of education in the country. And so I think that is actually a strength in the sense of, if you want to do something, there will be an area that you can plug into. And if there's not an area that you can plug into, then you can create that or work with folks to get something going. And so it's not to say that we have unlimited resources or things like that, but it's the idea that you are at a space that has many opportunities to sort of plug you in to different areas and get you set on your path. The other piece that I would say that makes us unique is the legacy of Teachers College. I'm not going to repeat what I said earlier, but the idea that we were really founded in thinking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. And so, yes, other schools of education will have that, but it's really permeated in the mission at TC more than any other institution that I've been a part of. And if you really care about DEI, then this is a place where you really can dive into that and think through critical lenses, how to address education and healthcare practice and policy in the country and around the world.
Thank you, Ty. And Jackie, from your perspective as a current student, just something unique that you've experienced that's made TC unique for you.
Yeah, so I think my answer to this question has to also be just the importance of diversity and inclusion at TC. So that was really important for me as I was applying to schools, and I felt like diversity is sort of just this pop word that gets thrown around a little bit too liberally sometimes, and so I felt like I didn't really know what schools were actually taking that seriously and what schools were just sort of flouting it. But I really cannot stress enough how important diversity and inclusion is at TC. In my program of 60, not only is it really a diverse mix of people racially, ethnically, religiously, but in terms of, but also just in terms of background and experience. So it was really clear that they were not looking for this sort of cookie cutter type of student. And so it feels really, it creates such a rich learning environment and adds diversity to our very homogeneous field. But it feels great to know that your unique person and background is really valued. And then also just being in New York City and having this incredible backdrop of diversity inclusion to your studies is really important as well.
Thank you, Jackie. And we'll round off here with our faculty. We'll start with Dr. Brasitis. If there's one or two things you might want to share about what makes TC unique for you.
For sure. And so agree exactly with what everyone has shared. I think I'll just add, we are an Ivy League institution. And so our students are incredibly smart and capable. The scholars here are amazing. There's a lot of rigor, highest standards. And we are a kind, collaborative, caring community. So rather than students or faculty being like really competitive, it's very collaborative. It's about lifting each other up, students lifting each other up, faculty lifting each other up, faculty and students lifting each other up. We're a true learning community, which I think is very special. And just an additional shout out to New York City. I think it's the greatest city in the world. I would also say, like, whoever your people are, however you define your people, they are here. They are here in New York City. And it's just fantastic to be at Teachers College in New York City with all of our people.
Thank you. And Dr. Pismone-Levy.
It's hard to follow, right? After this statement about New York, I'm with you. New York is the best city in the world. But what makes TC unique is about the networks. It's about the ability to connect ideas, domains, fields of studies that people don't think that are connected. You can take higher education and connect it with international work. You can take psychology and connect it with science ed to study climate anxiety. You can do so many things here that you cannot do in other institutions. It's about really the networks and the possibilities to create new ideas, new bodies of knowledge. As a student, you can do that through your IP papers, your master thesis, your dissertation, working with faculty. For me, that's what makes it unique.
Thank you. And I know, Dr. Martinez-Alvarez, you probably got the toughest position going last, but one thing that makes TC unique, yeah.
But I would say that also the commitment to addressing inequities, and not only in the larger context, but also realizing the importance of local transformation. So being very involved in schools and communities. And because we have of psychology and education, we can take a holistic approach, right? During the pandemic, is not only the education that the learning, but also we have to take into account that children need to move, right? So the health and also the mental health. So a more holistic approach to addressing very complex.
That's wonderful. Well, that brings us to the end of our panel. Thank you so much to our panelists for their insight, Drs. Pismone-Levy, Brasidas, Martinez-Alvarez, and McNamee, and Jackie. Attendees, you can certainly join me in giving them a virtual round of applause. Thank you so much for giving us your time and really sharing some great insight on the experience here at Teachers College. I'm going to turn it over now to Sam Lewis, our Assistant Director of Admission, who's going to share information about applying to Teachers College. Sam.
Thanks so much, David. Well, hi, everyone. I'm so excited to connect with you today. My name is Sam Lewis, and I am one of the Assistant Directors of Admission here at Teachers College, and I work specifically with the Health and Behavior Studies Department. I'm going to be sharing a brief overview of the application process here at TC. And after this session, you will have the opportunity to hear directly from your admission liaison in the department breakouts. So we ask that you hold your questions related to the application process until that time. We also invite you to continue to engage with us beyond today's event. Don't let the conversation end here. Let this be the start of the conversations, and feel free to connect with us as you navigate the application process and program options. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and turn to the application process. So to start off, please just keep in mind that you can only apply to one program at a time. We do get this question a lot, so just keep in mind that you can only apply to one TC program at a given time. And then with over 100 programs to choose from, application requirements can vary in terms of deadlines, entry terms, and required materials. But regardless of which program you choose, there are 5 standard components of the application that are required for all programs. This includes number 1, an online application along with the $65 application fee. Number 2, the transcripts. Number 3, your letters of recommendation. 4 being the resume. And last but not least, the statement of purpose. So let's go ahead and dive into each of these in more detail. Starting with the online application, this can be found on our website at tc.edu/apply. After you submit the application, you will be prompted to pay the $65 application fee. There are opportunities for application fee waivers, and for more information about that, feel free to reach out to your admission liaison. And then moving on to transcripts. So you will be required to submit one transcript for each post-secondary institution that you attend, whether it's degree or non-degree. On the transcripts, we're looking for three things. We're looking for the course titles, the course credits, and the letter grade that you received for all courses taken, including any transfer or study abroad credits. And then for those of you who have earned degrees in the US, you can upload unofficial copies of your transcripts to your online application for review. And then upon admission, we then will require official transcripts. And then for those of you who have earned degrees outside of the US, we do require course-by-course evaluation from either WES or ECE. WES is the World Education Services, and ECE being Educational Credential Evaluators. Those are the only two agencies that we currently work with, so you must request your evaluation from one of those two companies. We cannot accept unofficial uploaded copies of the evaluation. They must be official, and this means that they must come directly from WES or ECE. And this process can take some time, several weeks or more, so it's best to start as soon as possible if this requirement does apply to you. And then be sure to check out the international applicants page of our website for direct links to WES or ECE, along with English proficiency exam requirements. And then for those of you who have completed study abroad programs, a course-by-course evaluation would not be required. We would require a transcript that includes the course titles, the grades, and credits for the classes that you took during the program. If these two things are not listed on your home institution's transcripts, we would require a separate transcript from the study abroad institution. And then moving on to letters of recommendation. So while most programs require 2 letters, there are some that require 3. If your program does require 2, you can choose to include a 3rd letter, but this is the maximum. It is important to be selective in who you choose to write these recommendations. You should be requesting that these letters come from individuals who have supervised you in an academic, professional, or community service setting. And then for your resumes, while there is no set format, this should include your educational background, any work experience, any volunteer experience, or any awards or honors that you've earned. And be sure to highlight what's relevant to the program that you're applying to. And then, of course, if you feel a CV is more appropriate or best represents you, you're more than welcome to submit this in place of the standard resume. And then last but not least, the statement of purpose. This essay is your voice to the application. It's the element that you have the most control over and your opportunity to really connect with the mission committee. It's typically 2 to 3 pages, double spaced, and we often tell applicants to keep in mind the following 3 prompts: why you, why TC, and why now. So why you? You really want to lay down a foundation about yourself. What can you specifically bring to the program and bring to Teachers College? And then why TC? What specifically about TC draws you in, and what about the program attracts you? And why now? Why does this make sense as the next logical step in your academic, professional, or personal trajectory? So this was a quick introduction to the 5 basic components of our degree application, and we strongly encourage you to visit our program search page at tc.edu/programs, where you can find more specific information about the program that you're interested in applying to. And this can include any possible supplemental application materials, the entry terms, as well as deadlines. Supplemental application requirements could include a GRE requirement, an academic writing sample, a 3rd letter of recommendation, or an additional essay, just to name a few. For entry terms, not all programs accept applications for all 3 terms, spring, summer, and fall. There are some that only accept for 1 term. And then with regard to deadlines, these are received by, not postmarked deadlines. This means that all materials must be received on or before the deadline listed for your programs. A few dates to keep in mind: our priority deadline for doctoral programs recently passed on December 1st. January 15th is our master's priority deadline. And then if you were considering applying for spring, November 1st was the priority deadline for that entry term. However, deadlines do vary by program. On the same program search page that I mentioned before, you can find the deadlines for your program of interest. You may see a final deadline of April 15th, or that your program is rolling. This just means that we continue to review applications on a space availability basis until December 1st for spring, June 1st for summer, and July 1st for fall. However, there's no guarantee that rolling programs will not fill up prior to the 1st of December, June, or July. So our advice is to submit your application materials as early as possible. International applicants should be mindful of our international application deadlines to allow time for visa processing. If your program's deadline is earlier than an international deadline, you must then meet the program deadline. There are many benefits to applying by our priority deadlines. It's ideal to be in the first pool of candidates reviewed by the admission committee. You'll have the best consideration for scholarships and funding, and you'll receive your decision early between mid to late March for summer and fall applicants. Spring applicants can expect a decision by mid-December. Another key component to the application process is tracking your application materials. Please keep in mind that this is a self-managed application process. While the admission team is here to answer your questions and support you, it's ultimately your responsibility to ensure that all required materials reach our office by the deadline. After you submit your application, you can monitor any missing materials on the application status page. Applications are considered incomplete until we have received all required materials. So please be aware that only complete applications are eligible for review. So it's very important to stay on top of this and make sure that you give yourself plenty of time to submit all materials to us. And then finally, the admission team wishes you the very best of luck, and we look forward to receiving your application and connecting with you soon. And that ends my opening presentation. I'll go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Alyssa, who will talk more about financial aid.
Thanks, Sam, for that introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Alyssa Simcoe. I am the Senior Associate Director of Financial Aid, and I'm excited to connect with you all this evening to go over some of the financial aid topics that will be part of your overall process. So just to get started, we'll kind of go over a little bit about the application process, the different types of aid that you may be eligible for, and we'll share some details about who our respective liaisons for that manage each and every one of the programs offered here at Teachers College. So to get started, the application process is the first starting point for all students during the admission cycle and well after they have been admitted to the college. When applying to Teachers College, you're going to see on the application, if you haven't already done so, you have the opportunity to still complete this, that there is a section of the application that asks whether you have interest in being considered for a scholarship. And we encourage all students to, of course, say yes to that question. That way you can be part of the first students that get considered for any sort of scholarship aid. In addition to that, there are some special scholarships as well that you may be eligible for, and additional information in terms of how to apply and what those opportunities are will be shared with applicants as they complete their admission application cycles. With scholarship aid, one of the things that is important to know is that once you complete that scholarship application at the time of your admission, you will never have to submit that application again. It is a one-time application that will live throughout the entirety of your program of study. When thinking of some of those special scholarships that I was just mentioning, we do have a small handful of awards that fall under the Lemon Fellowship, Abby O'Neill Fellowship, City Year, and Posse. And there will be a supplemental application that first-year students will be allowed to complete, and that application generally becomes available in mid-December, and students will have a deadline to complete that application by late January. With the application process itself, you will see that because these are geared to all students, with the exception of the special scholarships, as I said, this is a one-time application that you will never have to worry about again throughout your studies. In addition to scholarship aid, which is part of the institutional aid process, there are other opportunities that are available here for all students at the college that tie into student employment, such as graduate assistantships. Graduate assistantships are a wonderful opportunity for students to explore because it allows students to assist with research, teaching, or administrative duties that will help along their journey as a student by getting information that is tied to the industry that they're interested in and more aligned with their program as well. For students to learn more about these opportunities, they are encouraged to review our human resource website to see what opportunities are available and apply accordingly. And they can also network with their immediate programs to see if there are any opportunities immediately available through their studies. With these assistantship opportunities, they do offer tuition support and salary payments to kind of help along the journey of your academic career and help offset some of those expenses. And these opportunities are open to all students, which means that there is no requirement for a FAFSA application to be submitted for consideration. All it will entail is you as a student applying for those opportunities and hopefully being selected as one of those students that will provide a lot of important involvement and assets in what they will be studying and what they will be assisting the college in essentially meeting the end goals that we all have, which is to serve our community and serve our students and serve our industries all along the way. In addition to that, there are other opportunities outside of the college that students can utilize. So for example, there is a FAFSA application that domestic students can complete, and this will allow them the opportunity to cover their expenses with student loans, potentially student work study, and as well as a teach grant opportunity. Each of those resources, being that they are funded through the federal government, these are only open to our domestic student population, and students are encouraged to complete that FAFSA, hopefully by February 15th, so that they can be one of those early students that gets a response back in terms of their eligibility, but the application will remain open beyond that, so students can continue to apply accordingly to see what offer they can receive. Just so that you know, with the FAFSA application, there is a school code that you will be required to enter if you do apply, and that school code is G03979. Again, I stress that the code for our school is G03979 because we have our own code associated with the institution that is separate from Columbia University. So we want to make sure that if you do apply for financial aid in terms of federal funding, that you do link it to our institution so that we can make sure we get that record early on and there's no delay with processing your request. Additionally, there are other external resources that students can consider. And of course, that falls under external scholarship opportunities. So with external scholarships, students can apply with multiple organizations around the world that are looking to sponsor students for a variety of reasons. Some could be tied to academic merit, others could be tied to specific extracurricular activities, hobbies, their professional background, certain skill sets they may have, different talents, so on and so forth. So we strongly encourage all students to explore the different opportunities that are out there for them to help with their costs and to help reduce any loan burden that they may find in having to apply for aid. Additionally, we have our office contact information on this page where you will be able to see each of our liaisons for each respective program. So as you can see, my name on the list there, I have 3 academic programs that I'm assigned to, such as curriculum and teaching, human development, mathematics, science, and technology. But I do have colleagues on my team that are associated with the other programs. So you'll see here, Rachel Harrington, who is associated with the arts and humanities, as well as the international and transcultural studies. You have Thomas Zarkos, who is associated with biobehavioral sciences, counseling and clinical psychology, and health and behavior studies. And last but not least, you have Janet Sulfurtis Hippolyte, who is the liaison for education policy and social analysis, interdisciplinary studies, and organization and leadership. I encourage you all to take a few seconds and maybe take a snapshot of this page just so that you know, based on what your area of study is or what your interests are, you can connect with the financial aid liaison associated with that program to learn more of the different types of funds that you may be eligible for as a student in that program. And with that, I will turn it back over to my colleague, Kate.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Alyssa, and thank you to my colleagues, David, Sam, and Alyssa, for their role in today's open house. But we aren't quite over yet. We still have some more great information ahead. We've been able to give you a nice high-level overview of information on TC in general, the TC experience. But now it's time for our department breakout sessions where we can get a little bit more granular, get a little bit more into the specific programs or departments that you might be interested in pursuing as a student at TC.